You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Stephanie Sanchez.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the 49 Carats Podcast. I'm your host, Steph. It is Monday, July 14th, and just when we thought this 49ers offseason was smooth sailing, we've still have been waiting for the shoe to drop, and it feels like today it certainly did, with the latest news on Jauan Jennings, which we'll discuss at length today with my Monday co-host, Weston. Weston, aside from, this news, how are you?
I got to be honest. So I was on the train into Manhattan this morning when you had texted me being like, we have our topic. And I was like, I'm kind of like in and out of service, don't know what's going on. I'm like, before I respond, so I don't look like a complete idiot. Now I'm just admitting that I'm a complete idiot out here on the show. I go right to Twitter, of course, the source of truth, and I immediately see it, immediately know what you're referencing, and I'm like, here we go. But other than that, it's been a Monday. It's a Monday, Steph. We haven't had a whole lot to talk about. Now we have something to actually talk about right before rookies report and camp, etc. So it's only fitting.
It's only fitting. It's not a 49ers offseason until a 49ers wide receiver is disgruntled, is unhappy, wants more money, whatever, right? Wants to trade. So we have it. We have it here with Brandon Aiyuk. I mean, he has, requested a new extension from the 49ers. And if not, he wants a trade. So that pretty simple. Last offseason, the 49ers did extend him. And so this makes 2025 the final year of that deal, in which he's due to make $7.5 million this year. And I was ecstatic when the 49ers did make that extension for Jauan Jennings. I think it made a lot of sense. Now, for him to come out with this demand 1 year later, I don't think is crazy, because he had a monster season.
Yes. I don't think it's crazy at all. Steph, I've always been a proponent on this show about like players get what you can get. And I think the 49ers did the right thing last year, extending the contract, paying this man a 7th round draft choice, by the way, right? So he was far exceeding expectations from, even from an earnings perspective. But they paid him where he wasn't like this huge statistical guy. He was third in Jauan, right? Clutch moments, big time plays. We know what he does in the blocking game, right? For the run game. So we know that value. And it felt like at the time, maybe they paid a little bit more for that. But now Jauan, I feel like, is in the right, coming to ask for that money based off of last year's production, and also staring ahead of more of what we're going to talk about on tonight's show about like what the wide receiver room looks like right now, right? Like as we're sitting here going into camp right now, Jauan just looks around and is probably like, I think I should be paid a little bit more money. And I don't know if he's wrong in that sentiment. You know what I mean?
He's definitely not wrong. And I mean, he exploded onto the scene from I guess in the national media standpoint. He was always dear to our hearts as third in Jauan prior to that. But yeah, I mean, he exploded a completely different way. 111 targets, 77 receptions, 975 yards, 6 touchdowns. That led the team. He was the team's leading receiver. So, I mean, I think this is the prime time for Jauan Jennings to try to squeeze a little bit more out of, the juice. And yeah, I can't blame him one bit. Now, from the 49ers perspective, my initial reaction was, ooh, he's putting the 49ers in a tough spot. Again, he has every right to. He's very much deserving of an extension. But looking at it from the 49ers standpoint, this whole offseason has been dedicated to kind of changing their whole philosophy as far as who they pay, like dishing out money to people, right? Like I think they want to be a little more frugal and just smart with their money. That's not to say that they're not paying anybody at all. We also saw them dish out extensions to a number of different players, Kittle, Purdy, Fred Warner. And so I think the message this offseason has been, one, they're going to be more careful in who they pay. And in who they pay is going to be people who have proven themselves, not just 1 year, but through several years, show that they're, part of the 49ers culture and all that. Like, they show up and, they're great examples for everyone else on the team. Right.
Yep.
And, you look at Kittle, you look at, guys like Warner, those guys are like at the top of their position sort of thing. Purdy, he's not top of quarterback, but he's up there where you knew, Purdy was going to get paid. He absolutely should get paid. Jauan Jennings, I see in a similar way. Like, he's not the top wide receiver. I don't even think, even going into this year and going forward, like, certainly he was the team's leading receiver last year, but I don't think he's going to be that for this team going forward, not because they don't want him to be, but he doesn't need to be next year. At least that's what I hope. In 2025, you got more bodies, healthy, hopefully, where Jauan Jennings, the offense isn't going to be moving because of Jauan Jennings like it was at some points in the second half of last year. But I think that's the tough spot for me, Weston, is where it's like, they've tried to be more careful in, who they pay. And certainly I think they want to avoid like this type of drama,
For sure.
But at the same time, it's like, who else do you really have? Like, you're definitely in a tough spot, because as we were saying, this 49ers wide receiver room there's a lot of questions, a lot of bodies, but no one that's really kind of ahead of the pack. And the only guy who is coming off of an ACL, MCL tear.
This is a tough spot for the 49ers, tough spot for Jauan. He and his camp are playing tremendous poker right now. I'll give him credit for that. I have to believe, for everything that you mentioned, Steph, about who they paid, how they did it, looked like a totally different San Francisco 49er offseason in terms of like getting the big things done early. And with this now becoming public, I'm not the only one who's thinking this way. I'm sure most are, but to me, that means like, it's not a conversation that Jauan just brought to the front office like this week, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, this has probably been going on for the offseason. The problem for the 49ers is they did do right by their guy, Jauan Jennings, in the extension previously for wide receiver 3 production, right?
Yeah.
The problem here is, in a year that was essentially irrelevant for the team, right? Like, not making the playoffs and, a stretch from what it's been like for this team for the last few years, is that Jauan went ahead and played himself like a high-end number 2 wide receiver in the league. Yeah. Can't be ignored either. So here's the problem is, if you were to survey the 49ers brass, and I think this way, is that like, they probably knew the Jauan contract was going to expire at the end of this year, and he probably wasn't in the long-term plans based on the drafts that they were making, right? Like, a player that you want right now, especially with the way, look at your screen, with the way the room looks, like you've seen, I would argue Jauan Jennings has performed and should be compensated. To what amount, I don't know yet, because like, I look at this room and I'm like, really like what Ricky showed, but Jauan's the only one that's like looking like is going to play a whole season, right? And is coming off playing full seasons. Hard to say we want to part with that guy right now. So that's the rub. He just came off this massive production, right? 49ers didn't expect it to happen. It happened. He probably didn't expect it to happen. It happened. You have to capitalize now. And it's, where do you land, right? Like, we're about to find out real quick how the 49ers value Jauan Jennings long-term for this team. If he gets moved for next to nothing, it's like, well, we just didn't want to pay that. And you can't even be mad at them for that. It's like, here we are in the 25th hour. We gotta make a decision around a player, want to do right by that player, whatever it is, but then Jawan's going to have to look around too. And I don't know. I mean, the number you're seeing out there is 15 million. Is Jauan Jennings worth $15 million to other teams per year? Like, look around the league. Other wide receivers making similar annual money. Christian Kirk, 18 million. Well, I'd rather pay Jauan Jennings than Christian Kirk, if I'm being honest. But then you got Jerry Jeudy, Cooper Kupp, Cortland Sutton, Bateman. Like, all those guys sit right kind of in that realm. And just like, do I view Jauan Jennings the same way that I view those players? And I don't know. As a 49er fan, I'm biased, right? I love third and Jauan. I love what he did last year. I love his energy. I love how he aids in the run game. I kind of want to negotiate with him and contractually speaking. But if you were to survey the league, I think the league would probably want those other players more than they would want Jauan Jennings.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, I mean, there's some names where you're like, oh, like, that guy's a value for their team, like Jacoby Myers for the Raiders. You got Darius Slayton for the Giants. Debo's getting paid $17.5 million, right? Like, do we think Jauan Jennings is a better wide receiver in 2025 than Deebo Samuel? Absolutely. And by the way, Jauan Jennings, 28 years old. So there's some value in that too. Like, he hasn't quite hit his peak yet. Yep. So, yeah, I mean, I think.
All right, Steph.
Yeah. What do you got?
I don't know how. I want to say gun to head, right? But I don't like using that reference. I was trying to come up with something other than that quickly. Gun to head. Do you pay that man? Yes, no.
Jauan Jennings?
Right now, yes.
I don't know. I'll tell you, Weston. I'm glad it's not my decision to make.
Yeah.
And I see everyone in the comments and they're like, pay Jauan, like, I don't care, like, pay him. From my stamp, I look at it similar to how the 49ers do, or at least like that's how I'm trying to, because on one hand, we're looking at this wide receiver room, like we were just saying, and it's terrible. So by this 49ers wide receiver room, yes, like absolutely pay him yesterday. But then you also brought up a great point, and I wanted to touch on that too. The fact that, I think Jauan Jennings, I think this, God, I lost my train of thought. You made one point about
he's not part of the future.
He's not part of the future. That's exactly. Look at you, Weston, being on the same page. We're in sync. He knew exactly what I was talking about.
Monday partners, baby. Monday partners.
We've been doing this a while. Yeah, him not being part of the future, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think if you look at the drafts that they've had the last 2 years, it was to move on from guys like Deebo Samuel. It was to move on from guys like Jauan Jennings so that you can build a new core. Yep. Right. And so I think Ricky Pearsall is firmly in that new core. I think like I have a lot of confidence in Ricky Pearsall, and based on what we saw from him last year, it's a small sample size, but I'm very bullish on Ricky Pearsall. But everyone else is still very much like, if you're the 49ers, you want to punt this decision to the end of the year. Yep. You want to see what you have in Pearsall a little bit firmer, right? Like, it's a small sample size for him. So yes, you feel good about it, but it's like, oh, like, do we feel good enough that we can trade Jauan Jennings away? Like, I don't know. And you got Demarcus Robinson that kind of feels like a fill-in, right? Like a little bit of a fill-in for, when Brandon Aiyuk is coming back from his injury, and a little bit of a fill-in if, maybe Pearsall is not exactly up to that veteran type of speed yet. He's only in his second year, right? So someone like Demarcus Robinson, who's played for a couple more years, you like to have that experience. He's facing a possible suspension, and so that's a concern there. Then you got Jordan Watkins, rookie, Jacob Cowan,
basically a rookie.
Basically a rookie. No experience last year, really. Promising offseason, but what can you do with that? You certainly can't make any decisions with that, right? Yeah. So that's where the 49ers are. So based on this room, yes, pay him. But based on your plans for this team and for this wide receiver room, that's tough because if you extend Jauan Jennings, and look, it's not just going to be a 1-year extension. I don't know if it's going to be a 2-year extent. Like, we don't know how much he wants, right?
Yeah.
If you pay Jauan Jennings what we think he might be wanting out of this new extension, then you kind of you certainly cap Jacob Cowing. He's not going to have a shot. You know, Pearsall, I think there's still some room for him. But you definitely lessen the opportunities for some of those guys that you drafted with the intention of those guys being your next core, right?
Yeah.
So that's my thing. But I also don't feel the 49ers are at a point to move on to that core yet. They're not there yet.
I think the 49ers still have the upper hand in the negotiation until we see like how hard of a stance this is from Jauan in his camp, right? Is he a hold in, hold out? You know, what are the behind the scenes chatter? But right now, still under contract, wants a trade. They're going to dictate like, hey, is that enough trade value in return? So I think they still hold some chips here. So I asked you the question. I'll ask my question myself. If Jauan's camp is looking for 3 years with an average of $15 million a year, I'm out. I'm just out because I don't think he's the long-term plan. And that's hard for me to say because he's arguably my second favorite active 49er right now, right?
Yeah.
Like as a human being and as a fan of this team, I love Jauan Jennings, right? But like if I'm John Lynch and the brass, like the football reality is he's become more of a pleasant surprise, right, than he has been part of the actual like plan. And you got to, I would love to like find a creative solution that, look, they have a lot of cap space right now, right? This year they have a lot of cap space coming in for emergencies, right? This feels like a little bit like an emergency if you need to. Can they find a balance that's like, hey, we'll give you a little bit more this year and then we'll talk about it at the end of the year. And if you find your way into this offense, which, oh, by the way, has players that also require the football more than Jauan Jennings does to make this offense go, we'll find a way, or you're free to go about your merry way and find a team that's going to pay you. I just don't know if there's another team out there that views Jauan Jennings as that valuable. Like, if I'm being real honest, like, it's not a great route run. Like, he doesn't do a lot of things super well. He's just a football player, you know, like, and a good football player, but he's not like, nothing about him screams like I have to pay you wide receiver 2 money for your team. So it's hard. I think it's hard, but I think the main point, Steph, is like Jauan is not wrong. This is the moment in time to probably grab the largest bag that he's going to be able to grab in the National Football League. So like he's right. Like he's 100% right. But I think the 49ers are also right to like, this is not just a guy that you say, fuck it. Oh, sorry. Oh my God. Sorry. That you just throw all this money at and do all that stuff. He's not that guy, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's very tough, right? And we got a comment here from Proteus West who says, I think if you pay JJ $15 million a year, there's a solid chance in 2 to 3 years that looks like a deal. Jennifer Lee Chan broke down a lot of receivers he produced better than last year. Yes, I mean, he certainly produced better than a lot of receivers last year, and we're going to take a look again at some of the receivers who are in the range that we suspect that maybe Brandon Aiyuk, Jauan Jennings may be looking at. Like you're looking at, you mentioned 15 million there in the comments. Christian Kirk, 18 million a year, right? Like he could even go as high as that, I think. So there's definitely an opportunity for him there. I just don't think he's going to ever have another season as good as 2024 because the opportunity I don't think is going to be there for him. 100%. Like you gotta think about where this team was in 2024, how he was able to get all those opportunities. And yes, he did the most of all of those opportunities, which the 49ers, do have to feel very good about. I mean, in one sense, you do want to reward him for that, right? But is that worth, 15 million a year, right?
I think that's the problem, right, Steph? And we said this about Debo post 2021 years. Like he'll never do that again, right? Like it was special. What Jauan did in turn, like was a very special year for him last year, right? Like it was a coming out party. He was being talked about in the national media. It was fantastic for Jauan Jennings, but the reality is like that's not the way the offense was designed. It was almost out of necessity. Right. Yes, the season might start late for Brandon Aiyuk this year, right? But that's going to take away targets. The hope is you have a healthy Christian McCaffrey. That's going to take away a lot of targets and a lot of passing. The Jauan Jennings' role, if things go according to the 49ers plans, will never be that large again. Now, the problem is they might have just found out and uncovered that they do have a really special football player on their hands that fits a lot of things that they want to do. But when Kyle Shanahan is sitting in there drawing things up, I promise you he's not drawing them up for Jauan Jennings. Like, he's just not. Like,
and that's respectfully.
Yes, like for Jauan, that's not a knock, you know? You just also play on a really talented football team that last year was decimated by injury, right? And you stayed healthy and you earned it and you did all that. I am not knocking anything that he produced. I had so much fun watching Jauan Jennings play last year. I told him we are all huge fans of him, but the truth is, on paper, the way this offense is designed now and designed for the future is he's at best your third wide receiver. At best. It's hard to pay that $15 million a year.
It's true. I mean, and again, like I do expect Ricky Pearsall to take another step. So yeah, him, Jauan Jennings, that being the third best receiver on this team in 2025, I don't think is outside the realm of possibility. Maybe early in the season, you do lean on Jauan Jennings a little bit more. We do know he has really good rapport with Brock Purdy, and that has gone a long way. Last season for sure, but I just don't know if that's what it's worth. Like I really don't. And I think former 7th round pick, you got one extension out of him. I think that's more than you could have asked for Jauan Jennings. Like you can walk away from this kind of happily, I think, and I think the 49ers would have let him do that. And at the end of this contract, right? Yeah. And so again, I think the 49ers would definitely want to punt this to the end of the season. We don't know how harsh or how hard of a line in the sand Jauan Jennings and his camp are going to draw. We do know that based on reports, Matt Barrows reported that Jauan Jennings does plan to report to training camp. Yeah. So it's a good sign. And you know what? That's the kind of player that he is.
That has nothing to do with like any progress being made. That's just the type of human being that Jauan Jennings is. It's one of those ones where this is just truly like a business decision, that would make sense to. I would not fault the 49ers from moving out of this if their hand was forced by trading the player. I would not fault them. I would argue that this is you hit on a draft pick. You extended a 7th round draft pick. So even if you got a 7th round pick in return, you did your job, right? As a front office, you did your job.
I think about that a lot when it comes to late round players that the 49ers could then flip. Even if it's the same pick, like you said, you essentially got that player for quote unquote free in terms of draft capital. And you got 4 or 5 years out of that player. Like that's a win. That's a huge win, right? So yeah, again, like no matter what the 49ers choose to do, I think it'll be the right decision. I think I could see it from all sides, right? Sure. And I think if the 49ers do decide to extend him, they're going to find a way to make it work for them. I think that's the most important part. As long as Jauan Jennings is flexible and cool with that, which I think he would be, right? Then there's room for this to work out for both sides.
Yeah, I think if you played your hand publicly, which is obviously what has happened as of this morning, it's not like desperation yet for them, but it's like, hey, we're serious. We're going into camp. Sometimes camp you'll see how it plays out, right? All it takes is somebody to have a little hobble,
that's what I'm
a
saying.
Little twinge in their step, and it's like, whoop, now we really can't lose that guy. go. But I think there's a way they make this work at least for one more season. And it's a quick cash grab, too, for Jauan, if it is, right? It's like, hey, here's a $5 million signing bonus extra for the year. That means you make $12 million and change this year. Like, and then you go figure out what you want to do.
Yep.
We'll
so we'll see what the 49ers do, but I do want to talk about this 49ers wide receiver room just a little bit more. There's definitely more to discuss here. On the Brandon Aiyuk front, right? Matt Mayoko in the last week has been talking very positively about Brandon Aiyuk's rehab and that the 49ers are surprised about where he's at with it. So I'm just going to play a quick clip and let me know if you can hear it, because StreamYard did tell me that the audio for the screen sharing cut out. So let me see if you can hear that. Yes.
Nah.
We'll reload this. Give me a second.
That's how we move on the fly.
I know. I know how to do it. Okay. I think I gotta hold on. I gotta stop sharing entirely and then do it. So he was on the Rich Eisen show, but I think he's also talked about it on his own YouTube channel. You had seen that Weston.
Tweets, just he seems pleasant. He is reporting that the 49ers are pleasantly surprised with progress, right? So
let's hear what he has to say, assuming that the audio works this time.
What is the scoop with Aiyuk? What do you know as we're on the cusp of training camp around the corner?
So what I've heard, he's making really good progress. I mean, even above and beyond kind of where they expected him to be. So he had that surgery in early to mid November. So he's about 8 months out from having the ACL surgery. What complicates it was it was an ACL, MCL, and also some other damage in there, some cartilage damage. So he looks very good. 49ers are very impressed. They're optimistic about where he is. He's going to start training camp on July 22nd when they report. He'll start on the PUP list. And there are some people who think like, well, gosh, there is a chance he could be ready for the start of the regular season. In all likelihood, the 49ers are going to pump the brakes on that and just make sure that when he comes back, he's fully ready to go. I mean, he is under contract through 2028, so they're not looking to just milk him for everything he's got this year and then cast him aside. So my best guess would be that he opens the regular season on PUP, and then week 5 would be the first game that he'd be eligible to play. But that's a short week. That's a Thursday game against the Rams. So to me, if I were a betting man, probably week 6 would be the area. That'd be week 6 against Tampa Bay.
All right. So again, that was Matt Mayoko talking about how optimistic the team seems to be on Brandon Aiyuk's return, but he does end it with saying, he'll probably still start the season on the PUP list, or at least that's Mayoko's expectation right now, because as I always say here on this channel is the great Stefania Bell from ESPN always says, return to play does not equal return to performance. So we want Brandon Aiyuk 100% when he returns and not a percent less. So this is good news, but I don't think this changes anything for the Jauan Jennings front, Weston. Do you think that these reports of Brandon Aiyuk, looking good and he could be ready by week 1, do you think the 49ers are putting that out there because of this Jauan Jennings thing? Wouldn't put it past them.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them, but I don't think one has anything to do with the other, if I'm being honest. I think, first of all, I don't subscribe to any of this chatter about Brandon Aiyuk even sniffing a possibility of return or even looking like he's in form or healthy enough to return week 1. This man tore 2 ligaments and additional cartilage in his knee 8 months ago. You just heard it, 8 months ago. Like, that's not realistic that he's coming back to play. Like, Stefania Bell is 100% right. I think reports like this are damaging for expectations around a player when they start to say they're so pleased and blah, like you go to the extreme where the reality is like, yeah, he might be eligible to be on the 53 by that turn. But even week 6, Steph, that's still 11 months removed from major reconstructive knee surgery, right? Like it's that to me, that's a full year plus to even like till that player gets that confidence and when they're starting. So I don't think one has. I don't view this news being released or like the recent uptick in chatter regarding how healthy he looks and how surprising that is. Again, I agree with you. I probably wouldn't put it past the 49ers as a tactic, but I don't really believe that it is. I just think it's. If I had to say it was a tactic for anything, I would always say that the news around Brandon Aiyuk in the off seasons has been so negative as of late that maybe it's a way to be like, guys, he's healthy.
Relax. Yeah.
Yeah, he's healthy. He's coming back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And that's great. But yeah, that doesn't move the needle for any Jauan Jennings decision. And in fact, as we go further down the list of talking about the wide receiver concerns, Demarcus Robinson, as we mentioned, another one facing possible suspension. And a few days ago, like 5 days ago, TMZ reported that Demarcus Robinson had been sentenced to 36 months of probation following his DUI case from the November 2024 incident that he had. So we're still waiting for what the NFL, maybe ruling will be on Demarcus Robinson. But I feel like that always takes so much time. Like they always drag that out for whatever reason. I think the fact that there was a sentencing and like from the legal standpoint, it's pretty much been decided. I think that might help speed things along from the NFL standpoint. But I don't know. Like it would not shock me if he gets like a 1-2 game suspension. But also we have no idea when that's happening.
Like, is this going to be like in week 4? You find out he's missing week 5 and 6. I hate this element of the NFL. If I'm being absolutely honest, like if you're going to hold your employees accountable for extracurricular activity, let's just say, like, you need to be accountable and judicious in your processing of that as well. I just think it's weird. And I don't just feel this way because it's Demarcus Robinson. Like it's like this happened in November, right? Like I understand the league, the penal system in the real world takes some time for what they might view as a minor crime in the comparison as to what they are working. But like the NFL has their information, like they should be able to make this decision. Like it's an employee of the league. Like figure it out. I don't understand why everybody has to wait for these because Demarcus Robinson's not the only one. I'm sure there's a half a dozen at least other guys across the league right now that are going through the same thing. And people like you and I that are fans of that team are like, the hell is this going to happen? You know what I mean?
So long.
Yeah.
And, a couple people in the chat, say it's pretty standard or it's pretty much a guarantee that there'll be 3 games. I hope not.
Is it a first-time offense?
Yeah, I believe it is a first-time offense. I don't know if that changes anything or
it should.
Why, cases get the 3 games. But in any case, I'm with you. Like, Weston, I'm hoping that if he does get suspended, which, I think we're expecting right now that he will, it's just a matter of when. I'm hoping it's in season and closer to coming back, right? But
yeah, of course.
I'm selfish. What can I say?
The truth is like we're only panicking about this because now Jauan Jennings is in question, right? Brandon Aiyuk's timeline's up in the air. The question marks around the receiver room. The reality is we're sitting here truly worried about when Demarcus Robinson's suspension is coming about. We have far bigger problems on this football team. Like, right? You know what I mean? You can't be a team that is serious about contending the playoffs and then tell me winning games is dependent upon Demarcus Robinson being on the field. A veteran, for sure. I think he could play and contribute significantly in that locker room and on this team. He's been around the league. He has had Jauan Jennings-esque production that looked more like his previous years, not 2024, right? Like, so he's been productive in the National Football League, but For me, it's just more of an aggravation of like, can't we just know? You know what I mean? Can't we just
I know.
account for it? I don't understand what the problem is.
I have no idea. And you're right. I mean, Demarcus Robinson isn't going to make or break the 49ers season. But with the Jauan Jennings thing now looming, I think it definitely underlines all these other question marks we already had about this wide receiver core. Yeah, it's looking rough. The one bright spot, of course, is Ricky Pearsall, right? And the only caveat to Ricky Pearsall is, okay, it's a small sample size. Like, can he keep this production up in the second year? His offseason has seemed promising, just like Jacob Cowing's. I think it looks like he has a better rapport with Brock Purdy. He's been working with him quite a bit this offseason. So I'm excited to see how that kind of unfolds with the season. But he has to stay healthy. Like, that's the other thing. Ricky Pearsall, very promising. You see everything that you want to see out of a first round wide receiver. You see these flashes. Can he stay on the field, right? Already this offseason dealing with a hamstring injury. He's clear from that, I think, at this point. You know, I remember Kyle Shanahan saying he's going to be good to go for training camp, which is why they held him out of OTAs as well. But can he make it through training camp without another injury, right? Or anything that's going to keep him off the field? That's going to be big for Ricky Pearsall. And I'm sure, like you, kind of what you said, Weston, like what happens in training camp, because there's always injuries in training camp. Sure. Like that could very much push the 49ers towards, getting this extension moving a lot quicker.
Yeah. Look, we all know Pretty Ricky's got plenty ability, right? But the best ability is availability. And we need Ricky to be available. He really came on. We talked about it ad nauseum. Like, he came on tremendously in those final 3 weeks of the season. You saw what he can do when he gets in the flow of an offense. And I would expect that the 49ers would expect that to pick right back up, as would he, right? Like, for someone like he's a rhythm player, get him involved in the offense. Is he on the field, Steph? That's what it boils down to. If he's on the field, I'm very confident in that young man, right? If he's not on, but if you're not on the field, like, you don't matter. You know, like he needs to be in a position to impact this team more so than Jauan Jennings, right? Like, I think his production is much more critical, but he has to be on the field, right? We give Ricky a pass for how his season started, right? Like, we understand that last year, couldn't even make that up, right? If I was thinking of outlandish scenarios for a rookie to have to go through. But yeah, the hamming, all that's concerning. But it's that time of year too, right? Like, I think, like, when you have these valuable pieces to your puzzle, if they look a little hampered, you just shut it down before it can even go the extra mile. But yeah, like, if Ricky can get through a good camp, sky's the limit for that kid. Yeah, sky's the limit for that kid. Yeah, he can play. He's a football player.
I'm really excited for him. And
me too.
And I do hope he can stay healthy. That it all hinges on that. It all does. So
it does. Because that's who Kyle Shanahan is in the lab for, right? When we were talking about, is he drawing up plays for Jauan? I promise you he's finding ways to get Ricky Pearsall involved in this offense, especially early in the season, minus Brandon Aiyuk. Without, picture this: no Jauan on this team, no Aiyuk. Pearsall would have to explode onto the scene, because then your only passing threat is George Kittle, right? And it's easier to take a tight end out of the game than it is to take a wide receiver.
Well, except when it's George Kittle.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? But you feel a little bit more confident scheming around somebody who plays so close to the football and around the line of scrimmage.
Which on
Ricky
that note,
Pearsall matters to the San Francisco 49ers in 2025 significantly.
He better.
Yeah.
But on that note, on George Kittle, and we've said it before. We haven't said it yet this show, though. George Kittle is your wide receiver one.
It's true.
To start the season, Brandon Aiyuk is back. You better be spamming the hell out of George Kittle.
Yeah.
And he better be getting the most targets out of anyone not named Christian McCaffrey. Now, I think after that, though, You're absolutely right. I want to see Ricky Pearsall get more targets. As long as he's on the field, he needs to be getting more targets than Jauan Jennings. And that's, again, no knock on Jauan Jennings. It's just like we got to see what we have in Ricky Pearsall. I think you're right. He's a rhythm player. Once he gets going, he kind of enters this like flow state and he gets cooking. I think that's where that's what you need to ignite with Pearsall this season. As long as he's healthy, he needs to get those opportunities. So he, in my mind, Pearsall needs to be, and he needs to work his way up to this. I'm not saying like give him the opportunities just because, but as long as he's earned it, he needs to be the top wide receiver to start the season. He needs to be wide receiver 1, like literally, on this team. Starting from week 1 until Brandon Aiyuk is back, then Pearsall's your wide receiver 2, then Jauan Jennings goes back to being your wide receiver 3. Sounds like a pretty good offense to me.
And I think that's why they picked Ricky when they did, where they did,
absolutely.
Why they did, because he's supposed to be a versatile wide receiver too, right? Like he can play the X, he can play the Z. Well, they're both open, right? Because coming in this season, like, your primary target, Brandon Aiyuk, is absolutely at a bare minimum missing the first 5 weeks of this season. Don't know what's going on with Jauan right now, just from a pure contract standpoint. Like Ricky can fit like Jacob Cowing, Watkins. They'll play a very specific role, or they'll line up and take their reps at a very specific position. I think what makes Ricky unique is he's got the talent and the traits to play both wide receiver positions in Kyle Shanahan's offense. So he's going to be given every opportunity in camp to truly be the primary wide receiver target in this offense. It's just, does he take advantage of it? And is he healthy?
Yep. Really all it comes down to. Now, Weston, to kind of close out the show here, I just want to, I guess, give a hypothetical out here, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying the 49ers should. I'm just saying if the 49ers elect to not extend Jauan Jennings and Jauan Jennings puts his foot down and he's like, no, then trade me. Then what do the 49ers do? If they do trade him, what are options that they have? Well, there's still some like decent wide receivers, free agent wide receivers that are out there. And I think for some of these guys, they're just waiting for an opportunity closer to training camp, probably, to kind of latch on to a team. A lot of these guys, like veterans who have been good, like Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, like those guys are looking to latch on to a contending team or what they deem to be a contending team. Hey, if the 49ers look a lot better than they did a few months ago, maybe any one of those guys would be interested in joining. But again,
who would you be interested in from that?
I would be interested in Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen. Like those would be the top 2 guys. Tyler Boyd is a guy who's been a wide receiver 3, pretty much his entire career. So if you're just looking for a specific like role player, like he could be that guy. If you're looking for a little bit of upside, but with some risk, that could probably come cheap because of the risk. Kadarius Toney. I don't love that one because he's hurt all the time. But I think Cooper, Allen, Boyd would be some names that I'd think about.
It's funny, we see eye to eye. Those are the only 3 that I would even consider on this list. And I think Boyd, because he's been that 3 before, he's done his best production out of the slot. And believe it or not, Jauan Jennings has done a lot out of the slot for the San Francisco 49ers in this offense. So I think it fills a similar role in the offense. But then I look at like Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen. For me, they would be brought in probably under the same value that they view Jauan Jennings right now, which is like, you're a right now player. Yeah. Like right now you are a 2025 guy for the San Francisco 49ers. I don't know what that looks like beyond that. And that's exactly how you would feel about Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen. It's like, you are a 1-year player in this offense for these reasons. We love third and Jauan. I mean, who's more reliable on third down than Keenan Allen's been in his NFL career? I'd make an argument that they should just go get Keenan Allen right now and figure out a way just to have in this locker room, Dude,
even without this Jauan Jennings thing, like you can make a case for Keenan Allen being added to this team because of all the other questions that we have on the wide receiver room. Like I think it's fair. Like so yeah, I'd be on board with that one. I think it'd make a lot of sense. And he used to play for Cal, right?
Who? Keenan Allen, yeah. He
make a return to the Bay.
Bring
it back.
He was one of the best to do it for a long time. Like,
yeah, he was.
Secretly almost, right? Because he's not bigger than everybody. He's not stronger than everybody. He's not more athletic and faster than everybody. But he runs some of the best darn routes the National Football. Like, so I think about the youth on this team, right? And I think about you have money to spend. I don't care if Brandon Aiyuk was healthy right now and no Jauan. You can make a case that you can find a good reason to have Keenan Allen on your football team.
I think so too. And the only other, I mean, they got other veterans on this team, but I don't know. Yeah, Keenan, you could learn a lot, I think, from a guy like him. So I think regardless, hey, give him a call, right? And hopefully he answers. But we'll see what the 49ers do in this situation. We'll see what Jauan Jennings does in this situation. Again, Matt Barrows did report that he does plan to attend training camp. So let's look at those dates again. The rookies report starting tomorrow, July 15th, and the veterans report the following week, July 22nd. You best believe I'm going to be at training camp again this year.
Let's go.
So make sure you guys keep it locked. Make sure you guys subscribe as always. And like this video if you haven't yet. Subscribe to my guy Weston's channel as well. Island 49 was here on a Monday. We'll definitely be back next Monday. We've been a little sporadic, the last few weeks, but it's just like there's not much, right? So we're not forcing it.
Not forcing it. It's we're 100% natural on a Monday, right? Like this is as raw as emotion as you're gonna get, and then there's no way we miss next Monday, right? We're gonna be talking about the Rooks and the day before going into camp.
We're so back starting next Monday.
It's a wrap. 2025 is fully kicked off now.
We're so back. But all right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Appreciate all of you in the live chat. Great discussion. Thank you, Weston. Again, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Audio listeners, leave a rating, leave a review. But for now, folks, have a good rest of your Monday. For now, peace.